Hello guys, Crispy here and welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm gonna be testing the Radeon R9 384GB model in GTA 5. This one is the Gigabyte Windforce version of the card. We are running it with the latest AMD drivers as usual, and over here I didn't overclock it, but I did push the power limit to plus 10% to consistently achieve these clock speeds. Otherwise, they fluctuate a little bit, so yeah, these are the default speeds, by the way. Over in Tech Power-Ups GPU-Z, you can see all of the GPU specs. It says 1.1 right there because there's nothing 3D on screen. If there is, it goes up to 3.0 as it should. You can see the 4 gigabytes of GDDR5 right there in the release date of 2015. Over on the left, we're pairing it with the i7 3770K and 16 gigabytes of DDR3 2400 MHz in dual channel. And some of you asked me in the previous video where I used this CPU, why am I using a 2011 CPU with a GPU from 2015? Well, it's because the CPU can handle it just fine. It won't bottleneck it in GTA 5, and especially when overclocked, this is still pretty capable. Alright, so let's get right into it now, shall we? Here we are, another beautiful day in beautiful and good old GTA 5. Now, I want you to notice that there is no power monitoring here in the on-screen display. That's because, well, this GPU doesn't support it, or at least MSI Afterburner doesn't support the power monitor in this GPU. Anyway, let's go over the settings now. Come on, GTA, the menu is breaking because the FPS are so high. So we're playing in DirectX 11, 1080p resolution to start this off. I'm also going to test 1440p and 4K and some custom settings right here. So mostly very high. Some things are set to high. Post effects set to normal because I hate it in this game. It looks really bad to me. And everything else is like this. Advanced graphics, everything is turned off. Now, since this is an AMD GPU, I'm going to go with the orange car. That's more for Ryzen, right? We should go with the red one, but I don't like the red one. Let's start counting the frame rate, my friend, the FPS. Frame rate, well, yeah, that's right. It's the frame rates, okay. Let's go. Oh boy. So, what am I doing? What the hell? I have never drive this badly. Anyway, it's gonna improve, guys. I just gotta get used to the car now, okay. Now, the FPS are very high, as you can see, touching 100 frames per second in this area, but we all know at this point that they will definitely drop whenever we come across some grassy areas. Those pesky little bastards, you know. Everything is super buttery smooth so far, no problems. We can increase that texture quality to very high, thankfully, because of the 4 gigs of VRAM on this card. And back in 2015, this was the competitor of the GTX 960. Which also came in flavors of 2 gigabytes and 4 gigabytes. This one as well. It was a $200 GPU back when it released, and it didn't suffer from the rebranding stuff. Or maybe it did. Maybe this is the R9 285. Wait a second, let me check that out. Yep, it seems to be really close to the R9 285, guys. It's exactly the same thing. Okay, so it is a rebranded GPU from rebranding. Anyway, what matters is it was cheaper than the previous R9 285, so that's alright. It's not like the 4060 Ti. Well, it's not a rebrand, obviously. It consumes way less power than the 3060 Ti, and it's in a newer architecture, but still, it should have cost less. Okay, NVIDIA. Anyway, moving on in the grassy areas, things are still pretty good. We saw Jacqueline back there, by the way. That wasn't Jack, so that's why I didn't say hi, because I am rude to Jacqueline. Alright, we only love Jack in the channel, okay? Anyway, you can see that it drops slightly from 60 frames per second here in the bushy areas. Yeah, 50s. But it's not a problem, in my opinion. I would be totally fine with this experience. It will only drop, goodbye, Bob, in these really, really intensive and dense bushy areas in the game. And even in grassy areas, it got like 60 to 70 frames per second. So it's gonna be fine. This is a perfect experience, in my opinion. 86 FPS average, 58 1% lows. Like, that's great. Anyway. Let's stop it there for 1080p. It's a great experience here, as expected, since GTA 5 also came out in 2015 on PC, and this was a mid-range card back then. Remember when mid-range GPUs were $200? Yep. Now let's go up to 2560 by 1440 resolution. A resolution that wasn't really targeted at a GPU like this back in the days, guys. But, you know, it still runs really damn well, at least in GTA 5, because this is a very well optimized title. Obviously, stuff like the R9 390 and the GTX 970 were more targeted towards 1440p. I remember back then seeing a ton of benchmark videos on a GTX 970 at 1440p, and it did really, really well. But these were a lot slower than GTX 970 and R9 390. Now, oh boy, that was a little bit of a stutter there, probably just a one-off. We usually don't see those in GTA 5, honestly. But it's getting around 60 FPS average, but this area is a little bit more intensive, so it's dropping into the 50s, lower 50s at times. Still, it's a good experience, not great. That would be 60 plus most of the time, like at 1080p, but I still think this is a playable experience in GTA 5, as long as it doesn't stutter all over the place, like the newer titles, and it gets like 45 plus frames per second all of the time, maybe with a few drops inside of bushes. It's alright by me. Also, that little i7 is just a beast, my friends. Like, I really love this CPU. I gotta make a dedicated video on it. So stay tuned in for that, by the way. It will definitely happen now that I have fast DDR3 and the motherboard that allows overclocking. But yeah, the CPU is capable of getting like 110 to 130 FPS in this game. So we're far from being CPU bottlenecked here with this GPU. Great little CPU from 2011 here. If you have the chance to buy one used these days, I actually would take it for cheap, of course, like 40 bucks or something like that, with a motherboard for like 30 or 40 bucks as well. I just think it's awesome to fiddle with and tune with overclocking and stuff like that. I just love it, guys. As is the R9 380. If you find it for around 40 bucks, I say it's actually a pretty decent deal, guys. It can play many titles absolutely wonderfully, especially older ones like GTA. Oh boy. And it's getting like 60 FPS even at 1440p. That's crazy, right? However, there is a downside to these old AMD GPUs and many old NVIDIA GPUs as well. The power consumption is pretty high. You can't really see it right there on the on-screen display. As I told you, it just doesn't monitor it in this GPU. But it consumes 190 watts of power. That is a lot. Alright, guys? You're gonna feel the hit in the power bills for sure. Okay, now let's be a little bit better to Jacqueline if I can manage to climb the hill. Well, let's go backwards, okay. Yeah, this car is pretty damn good, isn't it? Better than the other one that I usually use. Maybe. Where is Jacqueline? See, she doesn't like us either. Like, she runs away just like Jack, and we haven't seen Jack yet in this video. Maybe he likes to be here only at higher resolutions for that crispiness, okay? Maybe he will be here at 4K. Anyway, we see the FPS... So sorry again. We see the FPS dropping into the, like, mid-30s at times, higher 30s most of the time, in very dense, bushy areas. And that's amazing, guys. That is totally playable at 1440p, in my opinion. You could also drop settings, obviously, and achieve higher frames, and that's exactly what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna set these to the middle here, set these to like high. I'll leave the texture quality on very high though, because 4 gigs is definitely enough. Also, reflection MSAA has some issues with the Radeon GPUs, especially older ones. That's why it's disabled right there, okay? Let's see, grass quality, let's leave that on high, this one on soft, normal, 16 times, that doesn't matter. Let's do high here and high here as well. So these are the high settings, I would say, right? Let's apply and restart. Okay, let's take the Radeon car this time around, shall we? 60 FPS, 50s, things didn't really change by all that much, did they? Oh, that's a better Radeon car right there. Wait a second, Michael. Alright, seems like over here we're getting like up to 80 FPS. And this is 1440p still, obviously. But on high settings instead of very high. I guess the settings that we changed weren't really all that intensive. But we might see above 60 FPS on average this time around by the end of the benchmark run. So I'm gonna keep on going, guys. 70s. You know what? For a 60 Hz 1440p panel, this is not half bad in GTA 5. Shut up, Michael! Do not curse in my videos! Also, 69 FPS. God damn it, GTA. Why did you drop 1 FPS on average? You were getting the perfect frame rate. I was ready to say this is the perfect 1440p GPU for this game at high settings with 69 on average, and that would be true with 69 on average, but no, it decided to drop. What a shame, guys. What a shame. We need to overclock it, or we need to spend more time here in this area because it's now up to 69 again. Let's stop with the 69 talk. I'm sorry, guys. I talk too much about this number, and some people actually don't know what it means. It's obviously the year when I was born. Oh. Okay, and here, well, it's not dropping to 30s anymore. That's pretty much the same thing, actually. Huh. No, it's slightly, but hello, Jacqueline again. Where the hell is Jack, dude? We need to see that boy. Oh, man, it's been like 25 minutes already of recording and no Jack yet. Oh, boy. Anyway, 38, 39. I mean, the 1% lows are slightly better. Wait. He needs to be dead. There we go. Yeah, the 1% lows didn't drop as far as previously, and the averages are above 60 now, but we didn't really do exactly the same thing as in the previous run on very high. So yeah. I guess we gained about like 3 FPS. And it looks exactly the same, honestly. I can't really tell much of a difference, so there's that, guys. Alright, anyway, let's stop it there for 1440p, and we shall move on to 4K resolution, 2160p. This card only does 30 Hz, by the way, at 4K, through HDMI at least. Yeah, maybe through DisplayPort it can do better. But let's apply this. 3840 by 2160, very high textures, high settings, everything else. And we're getting, above 30 FPS right here. That's actually pretty playable. That's not bad. You know, if we lower the settings a little bit... I feel a bit of like frame skipping or something. Maybe it's just the capture card acting up because of the 30 Hz. I don't know. Maybe it is the 30 Hz. Yes, something feels a bit off here. A bit weird. Anyway, 30 FPS is 30 FPS. I mean, it's not great. I would definitely avoid this when you can play at much higher FPS, even at 1440p, which still looks great even on my 42-inch 4K monitor. So yeah, I'd definitely choose 1440p over this experience, but it is possible to play at 4K. If you want, for example, to take some screenshots or just see the graphics at 4K, drive around for a little bit at this huge resolution, you can. It's doable, and if it wasn't for this weirdness happening, maybe it's the screen tearing, again, it could be the capture card acting up, it would have been a decent experience. I've played this game many times with 30 FPS, and I was fine with it. I really think it's the screen tearing. Sorry about that, guys. I can't do anything about it. We're now in a more intensive area with some bushes around us, some vegetation, you know, and it's still... okay, it was getting 30, but it's dropping slightly only, actually. That's pretty impressive for high settings. We still have normal settings. Oh my! Okay. Oh, damn. All right, guys. Never mind. This is completely unplayable if you go to foresty areas. Damn, that is a huge drop. I wasn't expecting that. Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, we still got the normal settings. I'm gonna set this to high and leave everything else on normal. And through the power of editing, we're back here. And I didn't really need to tell you, like, see you soon. you know. Anyway, let's go with our beautiful best car ever. Oh boy, yeah, well, at least I can handle this one a little bit better, you know. And, oh yes, the footage is still crap. It doesn't look smooth at all. Sorry, lady. Doesn't feel or look like 50 FPS at all, but that's because, again, 30 Hz at 4K, it only supports that, at least through HDMI. Now, if we weren't playing through HDMI, and maybe we were playing through DisplayPort, and if it actually can do 60 Hz through DisplayPort, which I'm not really sure about, damn it! This would actually be a pretty smooth experience at 4K. It's normal settings though, and it looks way worse than even like 1080p did with higher settings, so I would never do this. But if you must play at 4K, and if you must test the card's capabilities, and if you're looking for a playable experience in this title at 4K resolution with very playable FPS, this is the way. As our friend Pedro Pascal would say, this is the way. Pedro is such a beautiful name, isn't it, my friends? It is my real name as well. Okay, here we are. Bushy areas aren't intensive whatsoever right now. Hello, Jack. I told you he'd show up at 4K. Thank you so much, buddy. I'm so happy to see you right now. Finally. I love you, Jack. I love you. Oh boy. But yeah, on normal grass quality, there is just no grass, so things aren't really intensive here, and since there is no grass, it also doesn't really drop as far inside of bushes. Still drops into the lower 30s though. Bob! But again, like, it's okay. It is playable. It never drops from 30 FPS at 4K. Some people like to tell me that my videos are fake sometimes because of these old GPUs running like 4K and 50 FPS. Yeah, I find that very interesting, but GTA 5 is that well optimized, guys. Alright, if you don't believe me, just, I don't know, just buy an R9 380 and try it for yourself, I guess. For the last part of this video, we should try it at 1080p, very high settings again. Alright, I'm gonna set it to that. So these are the next settings that we're gonna try in GTA Online. Okay? Let's go, guys. This is GTA Online. There are some people in the server. You can see them in the map there. Actually, maybe I should show you this right here. The players, yes. So we got all of these people in the server, okay? The more people there are, the less FPS you'll get. It also depends on where you are in the map and stuff like that. So it's just a bad benchmark, basically. It's super inconsistent, that's why I don't test it. And I also don't test it because I usually test... Shut up, Ron, get by. I usually test GPUs, and GTA Online is super CPU bound. You can see that GPU utilization is now at 60%, so we're utilizing 60% of our R9 380, and 40% or 30% of it right now are just chilling there, waiting to be utilized. But we can't utilize that because the CPU is a bottleneck here. See, the CPU is always, or almost always, the bottleneck in GTA Online. That's why a lot of people say that GTA Online is much more intensive. You need to test GPUs in GTA Online. That's just not true. You know, the only thing that you're testing in GTA Online is the CPU itself. So right now we're seeing that the i7-3770K overclocked to 4.5 GHz with fast DDR3 RAM is good for around 66 FPS on average. It does drop into the 50s at times, but yeah, all of those FPS results that we're seeing here, since we're never ever GPU bound, are CPU frames. Over here in the grassy area, GPU usage finally goes up into the 90% range. Okay, not anymore though, but we're getting similar performance to what we saw in single player, probably inside of these bushes when we were GPU bound. Yeah, exactly. See? We dropped exactly the same FPS back when we were playing in story mode. So if you are GPU bound, performance is exactly the same between GTA Online and GTA story mode. I hope you guys understand this little explanation here on the top of my head, you know. I don't have any script, so I'm sorry if it was a little bit confusing. But that's why I test GPUs in GTA Story Mode. And that's been it for this video. Thank you very much for watching it. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you in the next one very soon. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.